Hey, it's Doug Cunnington and it's Jim. We are back for another session here, and we are sort of, I guess, moving away from some of the stuff that we were talking about before with like niche sites and stuff, specifically the case study. So we're stepping back from that a little bit. And we're going to talk about Amazon FBA, and I guess Jim's sort of getting into it. So we're going to go back and forth and have a little debate, sort of. So we'll see how it turns out. And I guess just baseline, we should, provide the definitions of what we're talking about. So
Sure.
What is FBA?
Well, FBA acronym stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. Kind of a flying at 10,000 feet above it. You source a product, you send it to Amazon. They pick and pack and handle all the customer service for a fee. And so you obviously have to look at all that sort of stuff and build it into your pro forma. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're sourcing, sending to Amazon, and they handle everything from there.
Okay. So it's like a sort of like drop shipping, but it's a
Similar,
very
yeah.
specific type of drop shipping.
Drop shipping to Amazon solely.
Okay, cool. And then, of course, I'm a fan of affiliate sites, and I think if you're watching this, you probably have an idea of what an affiliate site is, but essentially you have a website in which you have, in my case, reviews and stuff like that, and then you have an affiliate link which goes to Amazon, and then if the visitor purchases something from Amazon, then you get a small commission between like 4.5% and 8.5%.
Right.
So that's sort of where we're at now. It's been, I guess, FBA has been like a hot topic for the last like 2.5 years or so, and it really sort of exploded. And I've stayed away as much as I can. It's been very interesting, especially when you hear some of the like cash flow and the amount of revenue that people are pulling in. Usually when you hear those are like top line figures. So you hear like they're making 6 figures a month, but they're also,
This game, with gross and net are very different things.
Yeah. So they may be making, $200,000 a month, but their expenses are like $175,000 a month.
Right.
So they're making like good money, but it's much different than what you think.
Right.
Okay. So my question is, why are you shifting, or are you just like layering on another thing that you're doing?
Definitely layering.
Okay.
I haven't moved away from niche sites. Still, I work on them regularly. It still takes up a lot of mental capacity on my part. Just, thinking about how to, now I have one of my sites is seasonal, as you know. So now that we've kind of come into the fall season, it's started to kind of die off a little bit just because it's a new site. I don't have it built out really, really big quite yet.
Right.
And so, yeah, just kind of, in the spirit of being a digital entrepreneur, it's kind of about building out your portfolio and trying to do as many things to be successful as I can. The end game isn't to be not working, right? I could go be a bum and not work, but I want to make good money on my terms and do it how, X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
So just kind of adding to the pile, I guess.
Okay. Got it. And then, so, like, I'll just mention one of the reasons why I didn't want to get into FBA is just sort of focusing on one specific revenue model, which is affiliate sites. So, my take is I'll be able to get better at the one thing that I'm working on and spend, most of the time on that. And I've gone to the extent where I've like reduced the number of niche sites that I'm even working on, so I could like focus harder on the ones that I am working on.
Right.
So do you feel like this addition to your portfolio is going to distract you some?
Initially, it has. It's like learning niche sites. You wander in as kind of this infant, not really knowing which way to turn or when to turn, and so it's a lot of the same stuff that you kind of go through when you learn the niche site kind of program. What makes a niche a successful niche, and then what inside of that niche will make your site successful. Who's your audience? How do they want to buy your product? Who are you talking to? And so it's really since I kind of got started in this digital world with you and learning niche sites, it's made the learning curve a little bit faster, because inside of Amazon is the same kind of analytical structure that you've got inside of Google. There's keyword rankings. There's certain ways to write. There is an algorithm. It's called A9, and that's their proprietary algorithm within there. They're a little bit more open with their algorithms, saying you can do this and this will help, or you can do X and it will hurt you. And so,
Gotcha.
because they want to, in turn, they want to move product too, because they're going to make money if you're making money.
Okay.
But they make money if you don't make money. Very smart. And yeah, so it really took a phone call from my buddy. We were getting ready to go down to Phoenix and visit a friend of mine, and he sent me a text and said, "Hey, I want to sell something on Amazon. Do you know anything about that?" And I was like, well, I know a guy. You know, like you spend so much time in this Amazon world,
right?
And so we went down there and had too many cocktails and decided to try something. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so what are like the areas that you're sort of nervous about?
Well, like with niche sites, there's competition in the market. You wouldn't want to write or build an affiliate site that's it's chock full of these authority sites that are they're trying to do the exact same thing, but they're much bigger and more powerful. They have more authority, right? And so the same thing goes within Amazon. There's brands that have a lot of authority. You have seller feedback and you've got product feedback. And seller feedback it's like seller feedback is kind of like your backlinks to your website, and it kind of boosts you up as a whole. And so that's one thing. We kind of got, like any new venture with a new niche site or a new FBA launch, you might make some wrong turns at the beginning. It's not a terribly competitive market, but there is some competition there.
Sure.
And it's outside of kind of the bounds of what the quote unquote FBA experts will tell you. That's like kind of a safe play.
Gotcha. So it'll be a little tougher. It'll take longer, or what does
I think
mean?
it'll take longer. We're ordering 2 products in that are competing with the 2 top players in the world that we're going after, and so that's the main nervous point is how much product are we sending to Amazon is going to sit there for a long time. Now we've kind of hedged our bet and said we're going to bring in an air freight order early, send that to Amazon. There's a whole bunch of nuts and bolts that go along with that. But so they'll get an early batch in. We'll see what the movers are at that, because we'll have a solid month and a half before we get our sea freight order in. But yeah, the main part is competition level, how quickly we can get product reviews, and then holding costs at Amazon, because they charge you per square foot.
Okay. And just a quick clarification. So you mentioned the air freight, so that's just more expensive, but you obviously get it in much faster. How fast?
5 days versus 5 weeks.
Okay. Oh, really? That's really fast. Yeah. Now, does it have to go through and we're getting like deep into the details here.
Right.
Does it have to go through like customs and all that stuff?
Yep.
So do you have a logistics already set up to
we will for the sea freight. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work. I think it all goes through DHL when it comes to air freight. I think they handle a lot of the customs work when you pay the shipping fees up front for the air stuff. But we do have what's called a freight forwarder. We're having our product shipped into Long Beach. They're going to go pick up our container with the product, which sounds really scary because it's a shitload of product. And so they pick it up, inventory everything, and then send off to Amazon from there. So they handle all the physical logistics of it. Okay,
gotcha. And this conversation will just be like all over the place. So you mentioned the product reviews being a big thing.
Yep.
And I know that's the case. While I don't want to do FBA, I know a lot about FBA. So I know that a lot of people will launch and then they'll send out samples, or they'll send out coupon codes, so that their like friends and family and just like other random people that they are somehow connected to will get the product at a discount, and then they'll leave a review, hopefully. So I think you're probably planning on doing that. It's kind of like
I've spoken with some obviously the friends and family model. How exciting is this? We're buying X, and you should buy it. It's a reasonably priced product. I'm not trying to sell like a $700 television. There's some really main branches of the tree that say just like stay away from electronics, stay away from like edible things. Sourcing from China, because you just don't have any. Who knows?
There's lead in it or something like that.
If it's one piece and it doesn't have any moving parts, then great. You can cut a lot of your headache out. And so there's a price point you try and stick in. It's like $20 to $50, and so we're in that world, and it's an easy sell to a lot of people. And so we've convinced a lot of, not a lot, a lot in quotes. But there's a group of friends that are willing to support us in this new venture, and say, we'll buy a.
Sure.
Everybody can use what we're selling, right?
Yeah. I'll take one.
Great.
Whatever it is.
Great.
Okay, so the reason why I brought up that point is I'm looking across the room. I'm just going to use the example of a guitar amplifier because that just happens to be what I see. And the thing is, I was looking on Amazon the other day. I was going to buy a guitar amplifier, and then I was looking at the reviews, and they were all shit because every one of the reviews was a discounted. It was a discounted purchase, and they got compensation for it. And I was like, well, I can't believe any of these 20 reviews. So I predict sometime soon Amazon is going to lock that down a little bit.
Absolutely.
Because I was like, Amazon used to be great because you can get real feedback from real users. Now there's a ton of garbage.
Right.
Garbage reviews, and I'm like, I'm just like, I don't know what to believe.
I've heard a couple things. I was listening to some certain podcasts and watching videos online. And people say, the more you're involved in this world, the less you start really feeling the reviews, of a certain product, but everybody wants to know. On the whole name of the game for the initial launch is to get those first 10 or 15 starred reviews. Yep. Then you launch your PPC campaigns, and so when people see the product, it's got stars under it. So it's got to be something. Nobody wants to be the first to leave the review.
Right.
But Amazon is getting smarter. They do, while they are open with A9, they do change their algorithms a lot because they're trying to weed out predatory practices. People are trying to skirt the system. So one of the things they do is, if I had purchased a pan or a soccer ball, and I was like, I'm going to send it to Doug because Doug loves soccer, but then I launch my product and say, hey, Doug, you should buy my product and leave a review. They'd be like, Amazon would see that I had sent you a product and that you and I have a relationship, and the review wouldn't stick. You could leave it, it would just bounce off.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so there is verified reviews, which means that somebody's actually gone in and purchased the product, and then anybody can go onto a product and leave a review. Because if I have a brick and mortar store and I sell bird feeders, and I say, hey, while you're at it, if you want to go on to Amazon, let people know what you think, somebody can go on and do that if they wanted to as well. It's just not going to say verified because Amazon doesn't have any history tracking that transaction.
Right. Okay. Let's see. So for your product, you said there are two big competitors that happen to be beyond the threshold that most experts recommend.
Right.
So does your product or your products, I guess, do they have any sort of special features that make them stand out in the market, or are they just
we went in with
identical?
a really simple product, and they're very, very similar to our competitors. What we did is we ordered samples in. We bought both of our competitors' products and did a side-by-side blind testing. I showed my girlfriend, okay, out of these two X's, which one do you like better and why? And I didn't tell her whose was whose. She liked ours for a certain feature on it. And it's very easy to find, with a niche site, just because there's another niche site in your genre doesn't mean that you can't compete inside it. You just have to do it a little bit better, or in the case of Amazon, your listing just has to be a little bit better. You can put 200 characters in your title, and then all the text you're allowed, I think in the description you get 2,000 characters, and it's all that is keyword based.
Sure.
And so, there's a lot of different ways. So, the main thing, we're competing at a very similar scale. In terms of construction, there's just a few minor details that are one-ups that we saw, because once we poured through the reviews on both of the big competitors, we were like, oh, people really want to see this, or people want to see that. And so we made sure when we talked to our supplier, we asked if they could do this, and build it out.
Okay, so there are some special features and differentiators so that people would see that and be like, I like that better.
Right.
Okay.
And exactly.
Gotcha. And then something you said made me, I just fixated on it. So basically you believe, I hope so, you believe that you'll be able to write a better listing than the other one through just copywriting and
basic
improved?
copywriting. There's
Okay.
there's several things that go into a successful FBA listing. One is the title, because it's got a lot of weight for keywords. Another thing is your bullet points. Right when you go into an Amazon listing, the first thing you see is the image. Next thing you see is the bullet points right to the right and a little bit lower. And those are, again, weighted really heavily for keywords. You can do some light HTML work inside of there, so you can maybe bold something or put a unique bullet point by it or something. And then you've got the description, and this is a good example of how Amazon's changing stuff regularly. There used to be where you'd go on to Amazon and pick a product, look at it. Down in the description, there is big, there might be some pictures and some flow charts and a bunch of stuff going on. You can't put that level of HTML inside the description anymore.
Okay.
If you have a listing that has it in, you're kind of grandfathered in, so you can keep it. You just can't make a new one with that in there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember some, bigger companies or whatever, they'll have a really, image rich, and they have like different formatting. So when you scroll down, you would see, pictures over here and over there, and it really guides you down. And, there's bigger headlines and stuff like that.
Amazon's very good to successful sellers.
Yeah.
Because Amazon's making a bunch of money if you're making a bunch of money.
Right.
And so they treat you favorably. I was talking to our freight forwarder, trying to get some information, just building out a pro forma. And I was asking about shipping costs to the fulfillment centers, and there's fulfillment centers everywhere for Amazon, because they want to really have a short turnaround time from order to order receiver at the door, I guess. And he was quoting one of his clients was doing so well that Amazon decided to pick up the shipping from the freight forwarder to the fulfillment center. So Amazon covered all of his shipping because he's doing so well with this certain product. He didn't tell me what it was.
Right.
Obviously, but Amazon will treat you well. Now, another thing, we have a 5,000 unit threshold limit in the warehouses. We can only send 5,000 units. We don't have that many to send to Amazon. But the more you sell, the more threshold you get. So if you're moving one of the competitors in our market's moving 2,500 units a month. We are less than half of that for our initial order. But they have more storage space because Amazon sees that they're turning and burning, so they want to give them an opportunity to get their product in there.
Okay. So, so I see I see the time here, so I want to make sure we don't go on for too long here. But so I'll sort of ask a couple quick ones. We have capital intensive things happening here. So with FBA, you have a lot of, obviously you have like product. It's in a warehouse. You don't have to like ship it to your house anymore and like try and go to the post office and ship it or anything. So regardless, there's still a lot of money that you have to tie up in capital. And then so there's that factor. There's a higher startup cost. But the thing is, it's a cash flow situation. So like whatever you make, you're probably going to like be buying more and more product, right? So you hope it flies out the door, and then you're going to have to like order more and more. So I guess that's always been a concern too. So how are you viewing that cash flow situation?
Right off the bat, we made sure you have to find the right margin, right? Like, I don't know.
Can you say your margin?
Right now, a conservative estimate. We don't have the product hasn't gotten to the States and gotten to Amazon, so we have some other variable costs. Once that gets to Amazon, we'll have an all-in pro forma built, so we'll be able to analyze it a lot better and say what we're completely in for. A conservative estimate right now is 40% profit on our product, and that was a big starting point. We had to make sure that like when we're not going to lose money, because this freight forwarder was telling me a similar story. Same guy. He's like, pretty much the heaviest thing you can sell on Amazon, this guy was bringing to the States. Made a killing if Amazon wanted him to send it to California. But Amazon told him to send it to Pennsylvania, and he started losing money like that.
Right.
Losing money on every product he brought in. And so it's like, holy cow, like it's you can't sell it. You immediately have to cut your losses and run. But ours, we went in with saying, okay, we at least have to be able to fund another X amount of units with this first one. And now we've kind of built in a buffer zone. We've got our break-even point, with storage fees at Amazon. But really the name of the game is like, It is capital intensive, but just to leave the capital that we've gained, any profits will stay inside the business to finance either more of that initial product or to branch out and get another product going.
To growth. Okay. Now, sorry if you hear noise. Brody, the dog, is trying to get some attention over there. All right, Brody. So, you know what? I can't remember the other margins that I've heard about. 40 sounds really high.
It's high.
I thought it was more like 15 or 18% or something.
Well, every product's unique, right? And it's all about finding the right supplier.
Yeah, sorry. Every product would be different, of course.
Now, we work through Alibaba. You put out a buying request, is what they call it. And essentially, you can get any number of quotations back, is what they call it. And, so we got 20 quotes from different suppliers. And they were everything from... We got our product, I'll tell you how much we got it for. We got our product for 9 cents per unit, but we saw everything from like 7.5 cents all the way up to like 20 cents a unit. And so, I mean, they're not technological things, right? They're very, very simple things. And so to have that broad of a spectrum, it's like, well, you have to do your due diligence and find the good supplier who's... Now, there's different things inside of Alibaba. There's manufacturers, and then there's representatives. And we work with with a representative currently because he can see a lot of different manufacturers. You'd probably get a better, better price if you work through a manufacturer solely, because you're not paying that rep, or they're not going to pay that rep to go move their product. But he was just happened to be the one who got back to us and had the best product for the best price.
Gotcha.
Right now it's sitting at right at 40.
What's your confidence level in that? So what would be the low and the high that you...
It's 40. It's 40% if it showed up as Amazon and left the next day, right? If it didn't have any, if we didn't incur any storage fees, if there's all sorts of different variable costs that are involved. Because one thing that really helps people build out their pro formas is where your fulfillment centers are going to be. Amazon can look at your product and say, well, it's going to do really well in Oklahoma. It's going to do good in California. We're going to put one in Pennsylvania. And so until you can kind of figure that out, your shipping costs are kind of unknown. Gotcha. And that's why we've got the initial air freight in. So there's some
test it out,
right?
And get the real.
There's some kind of gray hat tactics, like you can set up an inbound shipment to Amazon, and they can say, "Oh, send it here and here and here," but then you can cancel the shipment. Just to find out where your fulfillment centers are.
Oh, I see.
But some products, I mean, if you found a great market that had really low competition that you thought you could really go in and represent well in, then you might be able to take a lower percentage.
Right.
Or, I mean, who knows? There's so many different variables in there.
So I think I don't think you answered my question. So the
how confident am I in 40?
Or actually, what is the lowest that you would expect, and then what is the high? I take it 40 is the highest. That's the best case scenario.
The best case scenario.
What's
absolutely.
The worst case? So it's not going to be 40. You know that,
right?
So what's the lowest that it could be?
We have a break even set at just above $17 a unit, and that's incurring months of storage fees. And so until it breaks, until we're losing money, it's acceptable. For this initial stage, if we're moving product, that's great, because that's another ranking factor, what your conversion rate is on page. So as long if we could just be breaking even, I would be happy.
Right. Okay. And you said a $17 or 17% margin. $17.62, I think, is like our break even. Sorry, I'm
speaking cryptically, I guess.
But. So you're talking you said the margins could be 40%, and then you said
as they step closer and closer to zero.
Okay, so the break even is selling at what's the $17? Sorry,
that's our break evens. So we have our sales price set, but then after we incur storage fees, if it's sitting there for 6 months, it eventually starts eating into that sales price, and $17.62 or whatever it happens to be is our bare minimum before we start losing money on the product.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so overall, worst case scenario is you lose money on it, right? But in reality. Okay, I see. It was a bad question on my part. So best case is a 40% margin, And then the worst case is it sits in a warehouse and you have to liquidate
And we have a lifetime supply of what we bought.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Okay. And I think the one last thing, I know I said I had two more. So this last one is around just like dealing with the supply chain. So I guess I'm curious, do you or your partner have experience in like inventory management? And then the follow up is like, how are you going to manage the supply chain issues that, arise because of the transit and logistics?
Right. I have a little bit of experience from my previous life and as a W-2 employee doing inventory management, and very little. I'm not a supply chain professional by any means. And so it's just kind of learn as we go. We didn't overextend ourselves too heavily on this first initial product run. One thing we always heard was, the one mistake that people who are selling on Amazon successfully, I can put that in quotes, they wish they would have gone out bigger. And so we took what we wanted to do and bumped it up by 25%. Like, let's go a little bit heavier.
Sure.
And just see what happens. And so we've kind of got some variability in there. It's like, it is kind of a gamble, right? It's like your first niche site.
Right.
It's kind of a gamble. You can do all the homework you want, but until you pull the trigger, you have to take action and try it if you want to make it, right? The Wayne Gretzky quote.
Yeah.
Right.
Paraphrase.
Right. Yeah, just cut it down. And then the second part of your question is how to navigate the logistics of it. We source our product from China. China is a completely different beast than the Western world, or America in particular. They have holidays, elongated holidays, where I can't get an answer. Nobody's going to answer the phone. The Chinese New Year's at the end of January. People take off from factories and don't come back. Like it's a 3-week thing. Like they just disappear and they won't come back. And so you run into these huge bottlenecks. And so it's us trying to plan around: do we order another container before then? Do we try and hold our product and like just kind of coast until people get back and they can ramp up production again? Luckily, there's not a lot. There's one input in our unit. It's a one-piece design. Now, the one my buddy initially wanted to start selling coolers. It's like, Yeti doesn't have a wheel design and it pisses me off. Like, I want to get a sweet, badass cooler with wheels. Well, that's great, but it's oversized on Amazon, so they charge you more to pick and pack.
Yeah.
It's heavy, it's bulky.
Right.
It's you'd have to charge what Yeti charges to make money, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants
and there's probably like thousands of other people with the same idea too.
Right. And so scrap that one. And he's like, well, I found this great cleaner and it cleans stainless steel. Is awesome. And it does. It cleans stainless steel really, really great. But then you gotta buy the fluid, and then you gotta buy the bottle, and then you gotta buy the spray nozzle, and then you gotta buy the labeling, and then it's all of a sudden it's like a toxic thing where somebody could drink it, and then you've made a potential lawsuit, some kid downs this thing, and so it's just wading through all this kind of noise of what's the right product, and so hopefully we picked a simple enough product. There's no shelf life, there's no safety hazard, and worst comes to worst, it can sit on the shelf for a few months, or we can take it back. So there's 3 different levels. You can sell your product to Amazon. So if you're manufacturing a product, like Doug's pillows, right? You could approach Amazon and say, hey, I've got this proprietary design. I just want to sell it to you, and you can sell it. And that's fine. You just get a lower cut. Then the next step down is FBA. What we're doing is you find the product, send it to Amazon. They take care of it. You still own the product when it's sitting in the warehouse. And then there's a merchant fulfill. So you can take Doug's pillows, have your living room full of pillows, and then whenever you see a sale come through on Amazon, you run down the post office and send it out.
Sure. And
so there's all sorts of these different ways. Now, that's, again, a long answer, but on a wing and a prayer, I think is how we're going to...
So you'll figure it out when you start running out, and then... Well, the reason why I asked that question is I have heard if sales go well, right? Things turn out well, you're going to run out of product, and it's going to take... 6 weeks to get it.
And you get dinged in the rankings.
Right. So there's an issue, and basically you either have to, well, I mean, again, it's just capital intensive. So you have to float the inventory. Right. So you can order ahead and take care of the supply chain stuff. And I would expect, hopefully you guys thought of that and you already have like X amount that I don't know how you're doing the financing, but X amount in which you can spend. It's the initial investment.
Right.
And I hope you've already accounted for it so that you can get it ahead of time. So you
Right.
could like keep rolling and then, order before you actually run out, because it's going to take time to
Right.
get to cross the ocean and then to get to the warehouse.
Right.
And then so
We
on
did.
and so
We
forth.
both kind of, I had a little bit of I had some money stashed away for a business venture.
Right.
My buddy did too. He's a successful real estate developer down in Phoenix, so he had a little bit more capital than I did, but we agreed just kind of a 50-50 split.
Sure.
To fund the company for the first portion. And we didn't, like I said, we didn't overextend ourselves with that initial investment for products, because we want to, the big thing is PPC. We want to launch some of those campaigns, advertising. We want to be able to eat some products and get it out there for reviews right away. And so there's all sorts of stuff like that. So best case scenario, we need to reorder in a month and a half.
Right.
Great, we can totally do it.
Yeah,
and
it's
Amazon's
a good problem to have.
Right, absolutely. I'd rather run into that than
Right.
the alternative. Amazon FBA is different in their pay structure than niche sites affiliates are. Whereas an affiliate, you might get your commissions, I don't know, it's like 60 days after them. Yeah, so it's versus an FBA, you get your payment every 2 weeks.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so
Nice.
if worst comes to worst, in the best case scenario, we still have some money coming in that we'll be able to fund some other stuff with. And
Sure.
luckily enough, Alibaba is nice, where you can do like a 70-30 split. You can
Okay.
pay 30% of your money up front, and you can get some initial products rolling
All
that
right.
way. And so there's some creative ways to get products quick, but yeah, the main thing is don't run out of product, because you do all this hard work getting yourselves higher and higher and higher in the rankings, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're out of product, and then it's what's called a suppressed listing, and you just
Gotcha. Okay, so when will your product be for sale? Just curious on the time frame here.
It is en route now. We just made our initial payment, first 30% on it. When was it? The end of last week. So I'm predicting it will be stateside here mid to end of next week here. And that's
Okay.
coming to my buddy's house. We're just shipping into Phoenix. So he's going to have a couple hundred units in his living room. But then he's just going to UPS it to Amazon or DHL.
Okay.
Or whatever. So then that's when you find out your distribution centers and all that sort of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
So quickly, we've got the listings built, and now it's just waiting to hit the live button.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us about it for so
absolutely.
long.
That's fun. Yeah.
And if you have any questions for Jim on FBA, you can leave a comment and ask. And then, we'll hopefully get an update in a few weeks, and we'll see how it goes. So good luck.
Thank you.